Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Polki Bowl. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of urbanization in India, the state of our cities, and what is required for us to become a true superpower in the next 50 to 100 years. Yeah. So let me start with the fact, with the statement that urban areas are like the leaders when it comes to any civilization. Okay, if you look at the Romans, you look at the Chinese, you look at like the Indian civilizations of the past, Indian empires of the past, sorry, you look at the Americans, the British, the Portuguese, and the Spanish. All of them had cities which were the central and the focal points of their empires. Yeah, you had Rome, you had like Beijing, Kyoto for the Japanese, you had like Amsterdam for the Dutch, London obviously for the British, New York and Washington currently for the Americans, Mumbai, New Delhi for India. Yeah. So cities are extremely important. Politics and money flow over there. They congregate over there. Powerful people are there. Decisions are made over there where everyone, which impacts everyone and everything, which impacts everyone and everything. So my point is that urban areas, however dingy they may be, however damp they may be, however irritated you may be of living in a city, the hustle bustle of the city, I get it. Like it's not exactly the best life that we live, at least in India over here in the urban cities that we have. But urbanization is absolutely necessary. See, there's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi where he says that India's soul resides in its village. While I appreciate the sentiment behind it, I would like to just say that I disagree with that statement because India's soul may have rested in the villages 50, 70, 100 years ago. Today, India's soul is trying to move on a global scale. Okay, we live in the world of globalization, and you cannot be looking at a village and romanticize it. Okay, if you want to do anything to a village, modernize it, do not romanticize it. If you want to conserve your traditions, your way of life, however you and your ancestors have lived in the village for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of years, it is extremely important that capital, technology, and people of the highest order keep are in contact with that village. They keep flowing in. We live in a digital world. I get it. There's like a huge amount of technological proliferation that happens to villages nowadays, but that's not enough. See, if I believe India has this problem where we just glorify villages and like a way of life that existed 100 200 years ago, which is in no way optimal for the situation in which we are right now. Okay, अभी तक AI properly आया नहीं है. Artificial intelligence hasn't really started out that well. We live in a post-industrial world, first of all. Okay, AI and robotics, when it really, really comes in and starts taking away menial jobs and laborious jobs, villages are in deep trouble. Let me assure you of that. Okay, because a huge part of our economy, like 50 to 60% of our economy, is some way or the other related to agriculture. Okay, now if you are going to anything which is that large should start ringing alarm bells for you. Okay, and the whole point of AI and robotics is that it will increase not developer, of course developer, but increase human productivity. Boss, that just basically in business sense it translates to पांच लोग ये काम करने का अभी एक आदमी ये काम कर सकता है. Okay, they call it efficiency at their end, but at our end as workers you should understand that will leave three to four other people to do something else. So AI will create other new jobs, robotics will create other new jobs, but are the people who are losing these jobs capable of getting those new jobs that will be generated by AI and robotics? Yeah, I'm talking purely from an employment standpoint. I'm talking purely from an economic standpoint. Okay, if not, I cannot believe that our country still glorifies villages to no end. And I have no problem with villages being glorified. I have a problem with urban areas and urban centers being demonized. Okay, I get it. Our cities aren't livable in most cases. I live in Mumbai. Trust me, with the amount of taxes that we pay, it's insane. The road outside my house looks like it was just bombed, like half an hour ago by like someone. So I just I understand. Okay, like कभी पानी का problem होता है, कभी इसका problem होता है. कुछ ना कुछ होता रहता है. The traffic is horrendous. The pollution is beyond pathetic. Like Mumbai's pollution in the last 6 months, I think, has been much worse than Delhi. So if we are going to look at it objectively, our cities aren't livable. I get that. But the growth in India, okay, the 3 trillion economy that we are talking about, and the aim to be a 5 trillion and a 10 trillion economy, that is not going to happen without a Mumbai, a Delhi, a Pune, and a Bangalore, obviously, in other places like Hyderabad and Kolkata and stuff like that. So your cities are your main growth drivers, which you can criticize cities without demonizing the concept of cities. And the reason I think we demonize our cities is because villages have their old power structures which get absolutely destroyed the moment there is urbanization. Okay, the moment there is urbanization, old power structures get destroyed, the politics of the area changes, sometimes the demography of the area changes, and when these things happen, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And it's understandable. Change is not easy, and not all change is positive, right? Not all change is progress. I get that. I give you that one. But I feel if in India villages do not modernize, they will soon be steamrolled over by some technology that is just out there, taking away someone's job. And if the last 100 200 years have taught us, like the industrial revolution and onwards, then the digital revolution and onwards has taught us anything, you can stop technology's stride only for a decade or two. After a point of time, technology will win, and you will have to find a way to adapt. So here's my thing, right? When it comes to villages, we should look at, if we don't want to outright urbanize all our villages and take the soul out of our country or something like that, I would definitely say at least modernize them. Okay, in my eyes, the way I see modernization, it just basically, for me, modernization doesn't mean tall buildings, glass buildings and stuff like that, and lots of traffic and corporate parks and stuff like that. No, I don't mean that. Malls and stuff, no, that's a part of it. But the whole point of a modernized area means having great infrastructure. Okay, great infrastructure that benefits everyone. That is what I call, that is what I look at, what I think of when I say modernization. Okay, you need to, I know some villages which I keep going to for the last 10 20 years. I've been going to my own hometown. Hardly any progress, hardly any progress, and these are some of the better areas in the country. Okay, and I personally believe this has come mainly, and nothing changes over there, right? And the people who grow up over there, our own, my own cousins, my own friends who grow up over there, they have to ultimately move to a Pune, they have to move to a Mumbai, some go to Dubai or other places. Notice these aren't other villages. These people are actually going to other urban centers. I remember speaking to this one entrepreneur. He's a big time guy, semi big kind of guy, super dude. Worked in the US and stuff, and he had come back, and he has been a serial entrepreneur for the last 10 15 years. And he said that, hey, I've been in the IT industry for 20 25 years now, and let me tell you something. I come from a small village, and I believe in the power and the talent that is there in these small villages and towns, tier 2 3 towns. But the problem is, once these boys and girls from, say, an Aurangabad or a Nagpur or a Nasik, these people, they come to Kolhapur, Solapur, they come to Pune to work. Pune has a very vibrant IT industry, right? They, when they come to Pune, they cease being Kolhapuris. They stop being people from Nagpur. They after a few years, they become Punekars. They live there, they marry there, they have kids there. The kids too are definitely Punekars. But what is happening is the best talent from these villages go, and they come to they ultimately have to move to a Pune or Mumbai. And I have seen this, by the way. People who come from these tier 2 3 4 towns, they do not enjoy their city experience to the fullest, because frankly speaking, the quality of life in the places they grew up and came from is actually much higher, is much better. Like, because the air is better, there is no horrible pollution, the people around you speak like you do, you're closer to your own family members. Yeah, the expenses aren't that much. Why would you not love a Nasik? Why wouldn't you love a Nagpur, or other places where you're coming from? The but all of these things, these, they complain about it ki, oh, I want to go back, I want to go back. They never manage to go back, because then the new lifestyle that you have, okay, it keeps you back in an urban area. And then the urban area is also losing out, because there is so much overpopulation, because पूरे इंडिया का ठेका ले रखा है मुंबई ने एंड पुणे ने एंड बैंगलोर ने, कि वी आर गोइंग टू कैरी ऑन आवर बैक्स द ग्रोथ एंड एस्पिरेशंस ऑफ आवर कंट्री. Okay, now Noida, Gurgaon, NCR area is also doing the same. It is unsustainable. It just makes living even worse. It takes away the best talent from across the country. You put them in the same place, and everyone is just dying to, like make it work somehow. The expenses are so high, and people are just not happy ultimately. And we just have a subsistence level, survival mode life which many people live. Zindagi bhar EMI dete raho, and then finally you get some chotu matchbox house. Okay, and what happens? Who's winning in this? Other than your real estate guy or your some corporate offices, nobody is winning in this endeavor, right? So my point is that modernizing villages and towns in India is a must, because that keeps the talent over there. The local talent will stay over there. They'll work over there. If there are jobs over there, why will they leave? See, there will be a percentage of the population that will always leave कि नहीं रहना, मुझे जाना है, मुंबई जाना है, मुझे एक्टर बनना है, मुझे दिल्ली जाना है, मुझे यहाँ काम करना है, मुझे बैंगलोर जाना है, मुझे वहाँ काम करना है. These things are bound to happen, but at least give them a chance. Okay, now I'll give you my example, right? I was raised not far away from Mumbai, just like 40-50 kilometers away from Mumbai. There is, and 40-50 kilometers in Mumbai is a very small distance, just by the way, if you don't know. It's a very small distance. If I leave in the morning, I can reach my house in 1 hour. The place where I grew up, I can reach there in 1 hour flat in a cab. Okay. I grew up in Kharghar, Navi Mumbai, and the house where I grew up, today it is at 10x the price at which my father had bought 20 years ago. 10x in 20 years. Yeah. In some cases, the other houses I've lived in 15x pricing. Okay. In the last 20 years, 15 years or so. And I myself, itna padhai karke, itna kaam waam karke, I can't currently, as of now at least, I can't afford the same house I grew up in. I just can't afford it. And even if I afford it, what am I going to get out of it? Okay. There are no jobs in Navi Mumbai compared to the amount of jobs and opportunities you have in Mumbai. If you're going to look at a Navi Mumbai, like if you think about it, Navi Mumbai ka English translation is New Bombay. It is literally New Bombay. We were trying to, the idea was to, unload all of that, pressure that is there on Bombay and create something in Navi Mumbai. All that they have done to Navi Mumbai has made it into a residential colony for old people, of which my parents are part of. It's a residential colony for old people. That's what it is. People like me, people like my friends who all grew up in Navi Mumbai are, I'll tell you, they're either in Canada, they're in California, they're in Mumbai, they're in Pune, they're in Bangalore, or they're in NCR. नवी मुंबई में कोई नहीं बचा है. 2-3 लोग रहते हैं, वो भी मुंबई ट्रैवल करके आते हैं. If their houses, if their travel is less than 1.5 hours one way, they are like चलेगा, मैं उतना कर लूंगा, बट घूम फिर के वो मुंबई में ही जाते हैं. So the level of failure that I have seen in terms of creating alternatives for Mumbai is hilarious. Okay. And we need alternatives for a Mumbai, which is my biggest point. I always say this, यार मुंबई है वो सपनों की नगर, या तुम 1960s में भी तुम यही गाना गाते थे, यही बकवास करते थे. It's become embarrassing at this point. Okay, people die on railway tracks in this city. It's a gory thing. Okay, people don't, just go and check the statistics of number of people who pass away every year while traveling in Mumbai locals. Okay, एकदम कीड़े मकोड़े वाली जिंदगी टाइप हो जाती है. Okay, we live in small houses, but नहीं, Mumbai spirit and all of that, that's balls, that's bullshit. Okay, let me tell you something. This whole dependence on Mumbai is completely based on jobs. The moment jobs go to places like Navi Mumbai, the moment the jobs go to places like Nagpur and Aurangabad and Nasik, जब तक वो इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग नहीं होंगे, बॉम्बे का गर्दी वहीं से आता है, तब तक मुंबई विल नॉट improve. Okay, and by improvement I mean just the standard quality of life. See, it's a win-win, right? You get some jobs in those places also. उधर का लोग नहीं छोड़ के जाएगा. Okay, majority of the people will choose to stay back there. Who likes to leave their home and pay extraordinary, extortionate rent and prices over here? नहीं होता वैसा. But the whole point is, if at all that change has to happen, that modernization has to happen, it cannot happen without the people over there in the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities and towns wanting that change. If you are going to be someone who's like कि नहीं हमारे यहाँ पे 100 साल से हम ऐसे ही जी रहे हैं, हम और चेंज नहीं करेंगे, जैसे जीते थे वैसे ही जिएंगे, then there is a huge problem. Let me assure you of that. Okay, the thing is, see, if you want change in your surroundings, there needs to be a change inside of you. Okay, you can't say, oh, I don't want people from outside to come over here. I don't want changes in the city landscape. I don't want changes in what happens around or what kind of new things that come up. वैसे नहीं चलता. The dynamism that is required to sustain an economically powerful and progressive area is not a joke. You need to be much more inclusive, you need to be much more accepting, while obviously retaining a huge part of who you are. Your culture, your tradition should not be steamrolled, I get it. But please remember, in the age of globalization, in the age of rapid digitalization, please understand that stagnation is death. Okay, and regression though is oblivion, like shift delete. Remember that. I know there are cities and villages in in our country that are regressing, जो था वो पहले से और भी बेकार हो रहा है. But then there are certain places where it's like, okay, we are trying to improve, we are trying to get new projects in and stuff like that, which is fine. They're trying to do something. But if you're just going to be where you were 10 years ago, you have already lost out. ओके, लाइक वो इन्फ्लेशन कैसा रहता है कि कुछ भी हो जाए अगले साल तो महंगा होना ही है ये चीज. So if you are still earning the same what you were earning before, you essentially you have lost out. Okay, it's a pay cut. Similarly, if you're still gonna be and act the way you were acting 10-20 years ago and your expectations are the same while changing nothing around you, you are in a world of trouble. You're in a world of trouble. So remember that. See, it's not easy to shed centuries of life to adapt and adopt something new, but here we are. Okay, here we are. You need to. देखो, तुमको आपके फोन पे आता है ना ऐसा पूरा टाइम ऐसा कच कच कर पूरे दुनिया भर का कचरा आपके फोन पे आता है. Correct, that you enjoy. Where is it coming from? That is see, firstly, all of that happens because of geo. Okay, in India at least, the huge spike in internet adoption happened because of Reliance Jio. Reliance Jio didn't come out of a village. Reliance Jio came out of a city, and the people who worked on Reliance Jio, thoda Google kar lena, dekh lena, they were not only Indians, there were people from the West, there were people from the Middle East, there were people from lots of countries who worked with Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Jio. और तब जाके वो जियो बना है. हमारे पास वो टेक्नोलॉजी थी नहीं. You will see that Mukesh Ambani actually set up a team of world class professionals from across the globe, and then he brought it and then he implemented it in India. Okay, and then of course following him you had the other mobile service providers also providing something similar, but Jio has been at the forefront of it. Yeah, ये सब जो आपको मिल रहा है जियो के वजह से मिल रहा है. Please understand, everything you're enjoying, a huge part of it is straight up coming from cities. It's straight up coming from cities. See, you can't enjoy the fruits of capitalism and urbanization while still sitting at home and living the way you were living 100 years ago. You cannot. Like, after a point of time, it will turn out कि यार ये नहीं हो रहा है. You also have to participate in the global economy. You have to do that. Like, what is it? Like 60%, like huge percentage of our population is still in agriculture. Boss, the moment this happens, right? Like the moment like robotics truly takes over, you're not going. What are you going to do with all these people who will be without a job? There will be so much social unrest. It's not even funny. We should start right now in terms of improving the infrastructure in villages. Okay, and see, there are two parts to it, right? Like there is village infrastructure and then there is village mindset. Both need to modernize. And when we are talking about India as a superpower, right? Let me tell you something. If you really are going to be a superpower, you're going to have number of cities increasing. You look at America, you look at China. Okay, both of them have a huge number of cities. Okay, some of these cities, which some of these places didn't even exist in the past, they've straight up made cities out of over there. America has done that with Las Vegas. You have like the Middle East just making cities in the desert. Remember, think about it, right? These people don't make villages in the desert, they make cities in the desert. Why? Why do they do that? They know like a city is a place, once you keep investing in it, it will give you returns. Okay, every see, back in those days, even in the Roman Empire, right? Egypt was the one which used to provide like the food grains to the entire empire. Italy on its own, Rome though definitely not, but Italy on its own couldn't really survive without the grain that would come from Egypt. So even they knew that there are parts of the country that are good at like agrarian produce, parts of the country that are good at economic, military, and political produce. Okay, so they went ahead in tandem and it benefited everyone. All right, India too needs to have that understanding that okay, villages से ये आएगा, cities से ये आएगा. The problem is, are we empowering our villages to contribute more? Okay, and I'm sorry, but I do not see ourselves becoming a genuine superpower in this world while like half the population is still in agriculture or agriculture related stuff. Okay, I just do not see it happening. So we need to look after our farmers, but even our villages need to look at themselves and see like okay, where exactly should the next generation of our people, where should they be working? Okay, what should they be working on? Or will they again become city dwellers? चले जाएंगे, विलेज के बच्चे चले जाएंगे कहीं और फिर. They also have talent, right? There's so much talent in our villages, so much talent in our towns. Okay, what happens to them? They get eaten up by some city. They become those city ka people then. Once in a while, साल में एक बार they'll go back over there, say, हाँ, my village is really nice, and then they go back over there. Very rarely does it happen that people come back and are like, okay, let's grow something together over here. How often does that happen? It doesn't happen that often. So remember that even we need to increase, our towns need to turn into cities, our cities need to become better to live in, and our villages need to turn into towns. Okay, we need to have like great infrastructure that gives everyone a dignified lifestyle and option to either work over there, earn a decent living, or go to a city and make a higher amount of wage. But then the life won't be as great as it is in the village or in the town that you grew up in. So that is the dream that I envision for India, where people are empowered, where people have a choice, and the government is also like, हाँ ठीक है, थोड़ा एक urban area ये है, rural area ये है, semi rural ये है, and we can manage everything. The resources will also be probably distributed, in a more fair manner than they are right now. So my whole point is that cities deserve recognition for driving the economy of our country. Villages are obviously the flag bearers of our culture and our traditions, but this cannot go on forever. This cannot go on forever. Villages and towns need to be modernized in our country. And modernization just doesn't happen physically, it also happens mentally and intellectually, where our own people need to be like, hey, you know what? We can't stay the way we were all these years. We need to improve and we need to demand these new things. We can't just be happy with some statue here, some temple there, or something of that sort. We need to have like industry growing up over there. And also, let's not forget that cities are usually much more inclusive. People don't like to talk about it, but we need a much more inclusive society to develop, and cities help with that. I am of the personal belief that everyone has much more freedom in a city, and everyone is less dogmatic in a city. I mean, relatively speaking, of course. And that is very much needed for a country of our diversity to actually, progress, for to actually become, to realize its true potential. Yeah, Indians are super smart. Okay, we are so smart, we are so resourceful, we are so hardworking. We deserve better. The taxes that we pay, what are we getting back in return? Okay, that's because I don't think we are optimized properly. We need to be efficient in terms of where our people are employed, where we are investing in the future, where companies are coming up and where the jobs are coming up, and then when there is an equitable distribution of resources and people learn to live together in a much more harmonious manner, I would say that is when we will be able to progress. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, recently a friend of mine, she was working from her hometown, and some communal clash or something happened over there, internet band kar diya un logon ne. How are you going to do remote work when the internet is off? Now these things happen, right? Like, you as a place, you are supposed to attract people, you're supposed to retain the ones who are already there, and you're supposed to attract people from outside. Okay, world over, many cities, many countries, many states are doing that, where they are like, Arey, we have nomad visa, you can come here and work from here, and we will make it a very nice environment for you. Like, there are so many countries who do that: Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam. And they want people to come in, they want people from outside to come into the country and contribute. Correct. वो लोग पागल है क्या दूसरों को बुलाने के लिए? बिकॉज दे नो ये लोग आके यहाँ पे खर्चा करते हैं, हमारी इकोनॉमी को बढ़ावा देते हैं. Okay, that is what, that should be your attitude, that you are like, you're competing for the best talent, and without that talent nothing is going to happen. You're not going to progress, you're not going to forget thrive. You won't even survive without that. You need our own people to stay there. Like another example, friend of mine back in 2017, this is 6 years ago, we were in college final year working on a project together. ऐसी बात हो रहा था. She's like, living in Bombay, it sucks. Like Mumbai में यार बहुत स्ट्रेस है. मतलब अरे नहीं नहीं देखो ऐसा फ्लाईओवर आ रहा है, मेट्रो आ रहा है, ये आ रहा है, वो आ रहा है, things are gonna get better, the roads are improving and this and that. She's like, Saurabh, this all should have happened 20 years ago, firstly. Because other cities in the world have that. Well, you can't compare India with, like other countries. Like we don't have the same economic standing as other countries. We are trying to improve, we are trying to grow. And she's like, I get that. I completely agree. But I can compare myself to someone sitting out of a San Francisco or a London or a New York or, Washington, Seattle, Australia, wherever, across the globe, right? I can go there, I can compete over there, and I can come out on top as a global citizen, as a worker in the modern economy. And I was like, that's fair. And which is why if you see so many CEOs are Indians, right? Like in the US and Europe, so many CEOs are of Indian origin. Why? Because we have some of the top talent in the world. And our top talent feels ki यहाँ पे we are not getting bang for our buck. Okay, if we want the best life, we need to go outside. That is another reason why we should modernize and urbanize our villages and our cities, of course. Because वो ब्रेन ड्रेन तो होगा यार, तुम लोगों पे नहीं डाल सकते. यू कांट कीप ऑलवेज कीप सेइंग कि अरे हाँ देशद्रोही है, ये है, वो है, बाहर जा रहा है, यहाँ का पढ़ाई करके यहाँ का सब लेके बाहर जा रहा है. बॉस, इट डजंट वर्क दैट वे. आई एम सॉरी. The moment a person is an adult, they have every right to go and work wherever they feel like. Okay, some people go back to villages and work. Okay, some people are like, नहीं मैं न्यूयॉर्क जाएगा, मैं एम्स्टर्डम में जाके काम करेगा, मैं लंदन में काम करेगा. So many of my friends are in Singapore and Dubai. Why? It happens because they know they will get a better deal over there. You can't just sit and be like, नहीं नहीं इतने साल से ऐसे ही चल रहा था, तुमको यहाँ पे रहना है तो रहो. People don't live like that. Not in this economy, not in this world. So I'll just end on this note that please understand you are no longer isolated. Okay, I respect Mahatma Gandhi, but I also know that his face is printed on the most important paper in this country. And if you want that paper, you have to, worship on the altar of modernization, not urbanization, modernization. You can be urban or not, up to you, but you cannot be not modern. Please remember that. Yeah. Thank you so much, folks. This was Polke Bol. Take care. See ya.